This week, James Comey's defense team filed 2 motions that could blow up the case before it ever reaches trial. And they aren't based on technicalities. They strike at the very heart of the prosecution's case. I've read both motions, and after 30 years as a federal prosecutor, I'm confident that one, or maybe even both, will succeed. If they do, it will be a stunning embarrassment for President Trump, Attorney General Pam Bondi, and the Department of Justice itself. I'm Bill Hauser, and after 30 years as a prosecutor with the Department of Justice, I'm here to help you understand what's really happening in America's most important cases. This video focuses on the first motion filed by James Comey's lawyer, a motion that goes right to the foundation of the indictment. In a separate companion video, I'll walk you through the second motion, which raises a very different and potentially explosive challenge to the indictment. But let's start with the first motion, because if the court agrees with Comey's team, this case could vanish before it ever reaches trial. In my opinion, this motion is the one most likely to succeed, and here's why. The United States is divided into 94 judicial districts. Each has a U.S. attorney, the chief federal prosecutor for that district. By law, the Attorney General can make a temporary appointment for up to 120 days when there's a vacancy in a U.S. attorney's office. But after that, if no one's been confirmed by the Senate, the district court itself must appoint someone to hold the position. Congress added that safeguard for one reason: to stop any administration from chaining together endless interim appointments and bypassing Senate confirmation. Comey's lawyers say that's exactly what DOJ did when it installed President Trump's former personal attorney, Lindsay Halligan, as U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia. The appointment of the U.S. Attorney in the Eastern District of Virginia followed the law for each step until it didn't. On January 21st, the Attorney General appointed career prosecutor Eric Siebert as interim U.S. Attorney. On May 21st, his 120 days expired. The district court then properly reappointed him. In September, Siebert resigned after reportedly refusing to bring politically sensitive indictments being pressed by the president. At that point, the law required the court, not the Attorney General, to choose his replacement. But instead, DOJ named Lindsay Halligan, a private civil lawyer and longtime Trump ally with no criminal law experience. 4 days later, just before the statute of limitations expired, Halligan presented the Comey case to the grand jury and personally signed the indictment. Comey's lawyers call that a fatal flaw. That's where they draw the line, arguing, the indictment is a nullity and must be dismissed. They argue that if Halligan wasn't lawfully appointed, she wasn't an attorney for the government under the law, which means she had no authority to present evidence or sign the indictment. In their words, it was no different than if a private citizen walked into the grand jury room and claimed to authorize charges. That's not a technicality, it's structural, and if the court agrees, the case collapses instantly. There's good reason to believe this motion will succeed. In the past few months, federal judges in New Jersey and Nevada ruled that their U.S. attorneys had been unlawfully appointed after similar chains of interim extensions, and their reasoning mirrors the argument Comey's lawyers are now making. That gives this motion real weight. It's not speculation, it's persuasive precedent. In the New Jersey case, Judge Matthew Brand, sitting by designation from the Middle District of Pennsylvania, ruled that even though the U.S. attorney there was unlawfully appointed, the indictment didn't need to be dismissed because she only signed it. Career prosecutors had handled the investigation and appeared before the grand jury, so the judge called Halligan's signing of the indictment a technical defect. But in Comey's case, according to news reports, Lindsay Halligan was the only person who appeared before the grand jury to seek the indictment. That would make the defect structural, not technical, and far more serious. And this appointments argument isn't new. Decades ago, inside DOJ's Office of Legal Counsel, a young lawyer named Samuel Alito wrote a memo concluding that once a 120-day interim term expires, only the court, not the Attorney General, can appoint the U.S. attorney. That memo, written by current Supreme Court Justice Alito, supports the defense position today. If the district court in Virginia agrees, DOJ's own history could come back to undercut its case. The defense wants the dismissal to be with prejudice, meaning DOJ can't refile the charges. They argue this wasn't a good faith error. It was a deliberate end run around the law designed to install a loyalist just in time to indict Comey before the clock ran out. That's only the first motion, and it's a powerful one. But the second motion may be even more explosive. It challenges something deeper about why this case was brought at all. I'll put a card on screen so you can go straight to that analysis if you're interested. And if you want to keep following how these cases unfold, Make sure to like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications. There's still a lot more ahead. And remember, where law rules, justice follows.